Barry Charles Footy Show tonight. Yes, indeed. What is happening? Cronk 2.0. It's more like Townsend 2.0. DCE, if the Roosters sign for 800k million, whatever the case can be, it could be the worst signing of history of the Roosters if they sign DCE. Should he retire? Well, we'll find out. Jonah Pezzett at the Dragons. There's talk that that seems like the best fit. There's obviously the Knights, but there's a stumbling block, and Anasta does not want him to go there because of Lachlan Ilias. But let's not get it twisted. Lachlan Ilias out the door is nowhere near as good as Jonah Pezzett. It's just simple as that. Adam O'Brien to be sacked at the end of the year, and I believe he will get the wooden spoon as the Titans look to get one more game. We'll speak about that. And obviously, Tino, what's happening there with Tino? Looks like he'll play this year because he wants to play the tour, and then he's going to go, I'll play for Samoa next year. That's what the talk is. And we'll talk about the top 4, the top 8. Let's get it all going right here, right now on Barry Charles Footy Show. Welcome, guys and gals, back to the channel. Let's get into it. DCE. Yes, DCE. The talk of the town. What's happening? What's doing? What do I think of all this hoopla? Yes. Okay. Congratulations on 350th game coming up. A very good milestone. He's played very well for Manly. But I just feel a sour taste in my mouth that he's going to play for the Roosters. It really does. I don't care about all the functions in the club and whatever. To see him go is sad, but saying that the way he's playing, Manly are probably happy he's going. He really is playing real bad football. He's played pretty bad football all season since he signed the contract. And so what does that mean for the Roosters as well? Well, let's get through it. Well, the talk is that DCE was not given an offer. That's what the talk from the journalists are saying. That there was an offer on the table, so he said, "Stuff you, I'm out of here." That's what has been talked. That he would have stayed in Manly if he was given an opportunity. But then there's the other side of the story when DCE told them last year that he was going to move on. Had told them privately, not publicly, privately, that he was going to move on last year. So there's all this hoopla around all that. His career, what do we think about his career? His career was good for Queensland in the end, but for Manly, it was a major failure. That big signing maybe was not the idea because they had Trebojevic brothers. At the end of the day, they didn't deliver a premiership, did they? So it's a failure. Simple as that. You cannot say it is good, whatever. It's a failure. DCE signing over $1 million for each season was a failure by the club. At the end of the day, it did not deliver the results. DCE is a good player. I'm not saying he didn't play well, and he's not in Luke Brooks's category in terms he is class. But at the end of the day, all the money into him and the others, they struggled to get other players around them to be able to maneuver to be a premiership force, and that's what happened. Simple as that. Absolute failure in terms of that part. The start of his career was good, but outside of his origin career for Manly, and it's been a shocker. Roosters, should they sign him? Hell no. I'll be pulling up the brakes. See you later. You've got young talent. Sam Walker's better than DCE right now. He already is, and he's going to be a better player than DCE going forward. I know injury is the only thing that may stop Sam Walker being one of the best halfbacks ever to play the game. But Sam Walker has more ability than Nathan Cleary. Let's put it down there. But there's a difference. So, Cooper Cronk and Nathan Cleary, I'll put them in, they're in the same sort of thing. They're systematic players. They just kick to the corners and that. But then you have players like Andrew Jones and Sam Walker. They play off the cuff, can do anything on the football field, and majestic. This is where it gets problematic. Because they're so good, the other players don't understand what they're doing, and sometimes it stuffs up the momentum that they're having, and they don't win the games. So like Andrew Johns, for all the class he had, he only won 2 premierships. Cooper Cronk won how many? 6. I mean, I know some were taken off, but that just shows you the difference in terms of or how systematically generally wins you more games than you do in terms of out and out. Look at Jonathan Thurston, one. Well, actually two, but yeah. Now this is what I'm just trying to gather. How do you define who is the greatest? Now, Cleary's performance in the grand final is probably one of the greatest performances ever in the grand final, and he'll put himself up in the chance of immortal status. But if you're looking at in terms of ability wise, I mean, you can add Mundine to the list. At his brilliant best, he was unbelievable, but didn't get the premierships, and that's the thing. Is the premierships the better or the talent of the player? That's the thing. You had some other real good talented players. Andrew Walker was in that sort of space as well. I mean, there's some super talented Owen Craigie. I mean, the list goes on with people that could be superstar players, gun players, but they just don't win the premierships and they get forgotten about. But they were very good players in their own right. And because Andrew Johns is in the media, he gets talked about a lot more than maybe potentially others would do if he wasn't in the media. So just interesting talking points around that. But getting back to DCE in terms of for what I'm seeing, for himself, of course he's going to play on. If he wants the money, he's going to play on because he's not going to get that money when he retires. So no doubt he'll probably play next year. But in terms of his legacy on the career, well, if he can win the premiership, great. But more than likely, he's just going to go downhill, and he'll get dropped and be a New South Wales Cup like Chad Townsend. And that's the mistake, potentially. But he could be good for the team in terms of a coaching capacity if he's not playing that well. So there is a little bit of things that could help the Roosters in terms of that. But near DCE for me, retire, mate. Adam O'Brien, yes. Will he be the first coach sacked in 2026? We haven't had one yet. 25, I mean. It's going to be one of these four. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be one of these four. Who's going to hit the hammer first? And maybe it just depends on what, but I just don't see anyone going to be sacking them right now. There's no point. I don't think there's any point in sacking any of these ones right now. I think they'll just wait till the end of the season now, but I think there could be 4 coaches sacked. Will they all be sacked? Maybe not. So I just want to go through the options here. So if Adam O'Brien is the first person sacked, who will go? So why I think Adam O'Brien could be sacked is because Newcastle potentially going to get the wooden spoon. If they get the wooden spoon, I think he's gone. Regardless if he gets the wooden spoon from mine, I think they need to go another direction. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to get the same stuff. They might make the finals, but they will never win the comp. I think that's where Adam O'Brien has been able to get those big fishes outside of into the team. So I think Adam O'Brien gone. Who do you bring in? Well, the talk is Blake Green, but do you bring in someone like a Danny Badeiras, Andrew Johns, these experienced gun players that used to play for the club, Matthew Johns? That's where I'd be leaning towards, but I don't think it's going to happen. And does Desi Hasler get axed from one and end up here? Because there was talk he was going to go to the Knights, but he decided to go to the Titans. Well, I'm not sure which indication was better or worse, but there's still potential for them. But Adam O'Brien, I think the Knights have more choices in terms of who they're going to go for. I think the other two are clear cut. If they're going to get rid of the player, the coach, they've got a ready-made replacement. So in terms of the Titans, if Des Hasler's gone, my sources say Kevin Walters will get this one all day of the week. That's what I'm saying, and that's why he only got the 3 games for Australia, because he said he wanted to be head coach. I believe Kevin Walters is going to be the coach of the Titans in 2026. I think, unless they keep Hasler, they might. But for my money, Kevin Walters is 100% going to be the Titans coach if they go quit. But there's a caveat to that. There's one coach that is in the books that could go to any of these clubs, and he's the tip to be the coach of many of these clubs. But to me, Josh Hannay will fit at the Cowboys. Former player, Josh Hannay goes there. Whether he wants to go there, I think he would. If you're looking at the 4 squads, to me, Cowboys are the best squad. You could argue they need a halfback. But Josh Hannay, to me, Cowboys. If Todd Payne's going to get the sack, Josh Hannay gets their job. Doesn't mean that other people can't get it, but Josh Hannay's going to be one of the first picked out of these coaches. So Josh Hannay may have the pick of a couple of clubs if that's what he wants to go. But I think match made in heaven there, Josh Hannay. And the other one on this list is Seabold. He's the least unlikely to get sacked, in my opinion, but he can. They can easily sack him. Manly are known to do that, but do they go back to the past and they go, hey, Hasler, come back, Tuvey, come back? But the big talk is Ballin in this. One of those Matt Ballin or Michael Innes will get the opportunity to coach his teams. Do I think they're the question mark between all these four teams? Do I think they'll be better? Newcastle, question mark. Titans, question mark. I think Josh Hannay probably will be a better coach than Todd Payton, so I'm going to say yes there. And Manly, not convinced. All these rosters are there. I mean, you could say on roster alone, you could say there could be big improvements from the Titans and Cowboys. But Manly and Knights need a big overhaul, and that's going to probably be more of either a younger coach or experienced coach, depending which way you want to go there. So question marks over all that. Let's get to Pezzett. Yes, let's get to Pezzett. What's happening with him? Beef between him and with Anasta and the Dragons. These talks that they want to sign him. I know they have other players coming next year as well, but they do want Pezzett. They have to get rid of Ilias for this to happen. But Anasta has basically said no. And do you not go with a club just because one of your players is not getting arguably treated well or should be in the team? I think you just got to put your big boy pants on here and go, hey, if he's offered this much money, look after the kid, put him in. I think Jonah Pezzett's got to make a move. If he doesn't make a move, he's just going to be one of those has-been players and he'll end up like a Sean O'Sullivan type player. He needs to play and prove he is a number 7. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. Because I don't think he's ever going to get it in Melbourne. So, to me, Pezzett's got to go. And whether Dragons is the right option, the Knights, it might depend on who's coaching some of these teams, I think, for Pezzett. Maybe I think that's what they're waiting for to see what happens in the merry-go-round of coaches. So that's going to be interesting. Quickly on Tino, what do I think about Tino? What's happening there? I don't like it. Okay, I really don't like it. I'm not saying this is the two things I want to make clear. Pick a team and you stick with it on there's only one way you can get out of clause. This is something they're not talking about on the other channels here is, do you say you played for Samoa, or say you played for Australia and then there's a World Cup. Or say you've played for Australia 2 years ago and then there's a World Cup and you've never been picked since, like you're a young player. There's always young players that get picked and then they get picked again for a long time, like AJ Brimson and the likes, Kalen Ponga. What do you do with these players? Do you allow them to play for their other nationality? Yes, that's what should happen. So I think there needs to be like a year gap or 2 year gap. If you say you've played for Australia and you want to go play for Samoa or something, you have a gap. And I think the only year, I like to see a 2 year gap in my opinion. But between that, if there's a World Cup year, if you're not selected for Australia, New Zealand, etc., you should be able to play for your Pacific Island nation or whatever nations. That's the way I see it. It's generally what has happened in the past anyway, apart from an Australian player in that. But if it's just all for England, if they're eligible to play for a different country, let them play. I think that's the way it is. Make it a strong competition going into the thing. I think it's good to see Payne Haas going through. But this flip-flopping, Tino wants to play this because he wants the money to go play in the Ashes tour that not many people get to play. I understand that. But then next year he's going to play for Samoa. That's pretty much what's going to happen. And do I think that's worth it? Well, let's finish this. This has been a pretty long video for me, folks, but let's get to it. Here, the top 4, top 8. Let's rattle it through. Let's get simple. Storm shall finish top because I think they'll win all 3. Raiders potentially will lose this game, which means they'll drop to 2nd. But they are your top 2. They're lock into the top 2. Bulldogs more than likely will hold on to food. They would have to fall off a cliff and then make life interesting for the other teams. But I expect them to at least win a game. So they should be safe. If they lose all 3, then they could get knocked out. But I can't see it happening. But let's get to the 4 to the 8th position because this is where it all gets murky. Warriors win all 3, they're 4th. Simple as that for the Warriors fans. They win all 3, they're 4th. There's no way they can get run down. But if they lose a game, they can drop to 6th, maybe even 7th. If they drop 2, They are definitely on the squeaky slope to 7 for 8. If they lose all 3, they could be out altogether. More than likely they're not, because Manly and Dolphins have fallen apart, which has helped the Warriors' case in that. But there's potential the Warriors will finish 7 for 8 if they lose all their games. Surely they won't do that, but there is pressure on them to hold 4th, and especially a home semi-5-6 in the first round. So they need to win 2. If they win 2, I'm sure they're safe for that. But if they win 3, they guarantee it. Yeah, 2's even a slippery slope. If they only win 2, and say the Broncos and Sharks win their final 2 games, then the Warriors are in a bit of trouble. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, so there is a danger Warriors finish 7 for 8. That's just the way it is if they don't win their games. If they win them, they're fine. So what about Penrith? I expect them to be 4 for 5th. I think they more than likely will win all their games. They might lose one. That could make it murky for them. They could finish. But you got to say Broncos are going to win all 3 games. I'm not 100% sure on that one either. So Penrith can probably lose a game and get 4 for 5th. So that's no guarantee. The Sharks are right there as well. So it's a bit of murky waters for Penrith. But Penrith really need to win all 3, and they'll either get 4 for 5th. Broncos and the Sharks are the interesting ones. They can get as high as 4th, or they can finish as low as 7th, roughly. But they fall off a chain come 8th. But so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. If the Warriors fall apart, then one of them could sneak into the top 4. But it's very interesting circumstances. So all Broncos, Sharks, Penrith, basically. If the Warriors and Penrith will lose this week, the Sharks got the bye. The Sharks will be equal with the Warriors. So they'll leapfrog the Warriors. Penrith will be 1 point behind the Warriors, and Broncos will jump up as well ahead of them. So that's where it all gets very murky, where the waters are. So yeah, the Warriors could be 7th by the end of the weekend if they lose. So that's where all that lays right now, and it's going to be very interesting how that goes going forward. Roosters, I think, are 8th. I think they only have to win 2 of their games. Maybe only need to win 1. Manly and Dolphins have fallen off a cliff. Dolphins are still a chance, but I can't see it. The Tigers, no. They're not going to win all 3. They have to win all 3 and then rely on results, both of them and Manly. So they go. I think the top 8 is in. I think the 8 that are in is going to be the 8th, unless Roosters do something silly, or the Warriors. They're the 2 danger ones, really. The rest have better form against than the others, so they'll be fine. But the Warriors and the Roosters are the ones that could drop right out of the thing with their wins and things. So they're the 2 dangers of really if Dolphins went boom and 1-3. So that's where all that's happening for me. But anyway, that is the wrap of the show. Barry Charles Footy Show. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next video.